Hello, good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Hey, I hope everyone's doing good. Thank you for all being here tonight. I heard that there was a little bit of traffic coming in here. There's always something happening at Bellarmine, so expected, I guess. But thank you again from the bottom of my heart for coming in to tonight's Immersion Info Night. So, uh, we'll give you kind of a quick rundown of what tonight's going to look like and give you some good information. At the same time, you'll be able to hear from some folks. Let's get started. Again, my name is Mr. Manny Cardenas. I serve as the Associate Director of Christian Service Program here at Bellarmine. Part of my role is to accompany and help guide our immersion program, which is such an important way we live out our mission, faith, justice, and community. Before I begin, I just wanted to say how grateful I am that you've taken the time to be here tonight, especially knowing that it's the start of Thursday Night Football. With the Cowboys playing the Eagles, so thank you for choosing Bellarmine over the game, though I promise that we'll try to keep it super exciting as well. I mean, it's the Cowboys and the Eagles, right? All right. I also want to take a moment to sincerely thank this community for many prayers, thoughts, and the acts that my family and I have received these past few weeks for our son, Jeremiah. We have felt your support in a very real way, and I cannot express enough how grateful we are for the love you've shown us. Tonight, we'll share more about the mission of the Immersion program, why we go, what students will encounter, and how these experiences invite transformative roles for our students, how they help and both support our students and adults who accompany them. But the heart of the immersion lies in the students themselves, their openness, their reflections, and the way they bring these lessons back to their lives and communities, and especially here at Bellarmine. So once again, thank you for joining us tonight. I'm excited to hear from our students, from our faculty, who will be sharing their reflections and experiences of the immersions. And I hope that you leave tonight with a deeper sense of impact and purpose of our program. So, welcome once again. And in true fashion, just as we do at Bellarmine, in whatever faith that you follow, or whatever existence that we do prayers to kind of start off our evening. And so again, if it's the sign of the cross, or just bowing your head, closing your eyes, or whatever feels comfortable, we will be doing the prayer of generosity. So we'll get set. Lord, teach me to be generous. Teach me to serve you as you deserve. To give and not to count the cost. To fight and not to heed the wounds. To toil and not to seek for rest. To labor and not to ask for reward. Expect that of knowing that I do your will. Saint Ignatius of Loyola, pray for us. Amen. Awesome. Thank you all. So, real quick, I'm going to give you the super, top level, why do we do immersions? And why do we do this program? What's important about it? Why does Bellarmine offer this? And so, we kind of want to tackle these three areas when it comes to our students and the experience that they have. And curator person analysis one, it's a very Ignatian phrase, it's a very motto that we show here, that we do with our students and whether in our classrooms to our programmatic options that we have. And, we really want them, what you see up there is kind of stepping outside of their comfort zone. For a lot of young students that go on these trips, it might be the first time away from home, right? And it might be the first time with no phones. Ooh, scary. It might be the first time without AC. Double scary. But we do this to really push ourselves to see outside of what our norms might be. I always tell a lot of our students that for some of us, basic needs has never come up as an issue, possibly, that maybe when I go home, I flip the switch in my room, the lights go on, right? And I never think nothing of it. When I open my refrigerator, I see you know, all the cool drinks, all the great snacks in the pantry. And that might just be normal, and that's okay. But for some, that is a privilege. For others, don't have that same privilege to have the lights go on or have a full fridge in their homes. And so we really want to ask our students to step into that process with humility, but also understanding what we're doing here in the immersion program. I always like to say that the education goes beyond the four walls of Bellarmine, that we really want to emphasize on what they learn outside as well from the institution here at Bellarmine. So the other thing that we really touch is that we are men and women for and with others, and that we stand in solidarity with those who are excluded, those who are marginalized, those who are affected by various things. For some, it could be an economic impact. For others, especially in some of the immersions that we go, could be a very civil impact. Some of the things that go on in the country that really affect those who live there. And so we try to present that in a very safe way, but also in a manner where our students are able to really take maybe what they've read, what they've seen, and kind of have it right in their face and be hearing the stories of others. A lot of storytelling that happens in our immersions. So again, this is kind of just the main objectives of what the immersion program is, and what we really try our students to understand. And I get it; it's like a lot, and even just kind of saying this for me, it's a lot. But our students here have a process. It's kind of a beginning process, a prep process is what we call. And then while they're in immersion, they're also kind of discovering this for themselves. And when they come back, kind of being able to debrief that experience. Or what I ask a lot of our students is, what now? What do you do with that experience now that you've had it? So again, it's loaded, but we strategically try to put this as intentional to our students so that way they understand a little bit about what the program is. In addition, the immersion program is built on these pillars that we really want to make sure that they're able to experience for themselves as they go on these trips, whether they're domestic or internationally. We want to build community with those that we serve. You'll be hearing about that through some of our speakers of how they build community, or literally build community for those folks that we serve. Simplicity, right? I talked about possibly not sleeping in your nice sort of comfort bed, or you know, I definitely have slept on gym floors in some immersions, not comfortable, right? But it asks us to be in solidarity and in simple acts that we encounter ourselves in these environments. And again, most of the places that we visit have a justice or a social justice aspect that we try to embrace, that we try to showcase to our students. It's not about us going to a place and just experiencing poverty and be like, oh, that sucks, poor them. You know, that's not the purpose of what we do in immersions. I, for instance, get probably once a month emails of these tour companies, these student tour companies, who are like, come to Madrid and we'll show you the sights. Come to Barcelona. Come to the channels of Italy. And, you know, and I'm like, yeah, we don't do that. That's not what we're about. They're great, awesome, and I wish I could go. But as I tell the students, I'm a baller on a budget. So, you know, one day at a time. But what we really try to emphasize is that we are one. We are one within community when we travel to these places. And it isn't about us being saviors, or you know, going into there and having this sympathetic value of like, well, yes, I know I should be grateful, but again, that's why I propose the question always to our students when they come back: what now? What do I do with that? I'm grateful that I have these things, but what do we do with that experience now? So something that we really just try to make sure that our students understand. And for the most part, a lot of our immersions have a sense of, like I said, that social justice. Some a little bit more deeper than others, but all have some kind of sense of that. And of course, spirituality. As you know, as an Ignatian institution here at Bellarmine, we try to incorporate the spirituality aspect of it. A lot of our partners who we go to internationally or even domestic, we have spiritual partners on the ground, whether they're Jesuit institutions, Catholic institutions, or partner up with other spiritual institutions in the area. And so, as you'll hear, like um, in Tijuana, we go through Easter break, right? And that's a big holiday. And so we actually invite a priest to come down and have Easter service with our students. So it's kind of like a highlight of that trip too as well, which we'll hear more about. And in the other, like I said, in the past, we've done other spiritual work, whether it's attending a mass in the local community. I know last year the Salinas Plunge did that. Um, it's kind of funny because they went to an all Spanish mass, and then they brought them all up, and the priest was talking to them in Spanish, but everybody in the plunge didn't understand Spanish, so they were just like, "Yeah, Jesus," right? So it happens, but what an experience, right? What an experience that our students can have that really just brings them to our community and those communities around them. So as we go into kind of the trips, and I will start talking a little bit about what we're going to offer this year. I do want to say off the bat that there's two trips that are not being offered this year for sure. If maybe you've seen them last year or you've heard about them. One is the LA urban plunge that we do, or rural plunge, urban plunge, in Los Angeles with the Dolores Mission, or we go to Homeboys Industries and we stay in the Dolores Mission area. Unfortunately, the schedule doesn't pan out the way we would like it. They wanted to do during school kind of time, and we're already kind of grabbing a lot of time with the immersions that we have. So it just didn't work out for us to go this year to LA. So we missed them, but hopefully we'll be able to go back next year. And another deer trip that I was able to go on last year was the Kino Border Initiative, which we go to Nogales in Arizona, and we interact with the folks in the border who are seeking asylum or refugees or have been deported. And unfortunately, the organization has chosen to kind of look at a new way of how to draw others into their mission, which is great. They're actually tapping into a lot of like red states and kind of making them aware about like border initiative situations, because a lot of the students or a lot of organizations or schools that go to Kino normally are folks who understand immigration, who understand border policies and are really kind of like advocates for that. And what they're really trying to do is push the envelope, so to say, what about those who don't want to do nothing with immigration and so on and so forth? And so I give it to them. So we're going to hold them in our prayers for sure, because that's a tough job. That is a tough job to do, but I'm excited for what their vision is. But we'll be exploring other border immersions as we get into the year. I know that Presentation High School wants to partner with us in that, and so hopefully there's a future of another trip that we get to do with the border. So the only trip that we're offering in the fall is the Salinas Plunge. And this is a great immersion for those who are just kind of like not ready yet to travel internationally or spend 10 days out in another country. It's localized, it's here in our backyard. It's a great immersion that we get to partner with our farm working communities here in the Salinas Valley or Watsonville and Half Moon Bay area. And our students get to visit like Driscoll's and kind of understand like what does that look like. We actually have an alum who works at Driscoll's who invites our students every year to come in, and they kind of learn the production of what they do, right? Again, there's a lot of controversy about what happens in these places, but the purpose of this immersion or this plunge is to really give kind of both sides, seeing both perspectives of what happens in these communities. In addition of them going to Driscoll's, they get to partner up with the Food Bank of Monterey County, where they go gleaning, where they actually clean up fields during the day. They are able to visit the California Rights of Farm Working Families and Members. The person who runs that program actually marched with Cesar Chavez and was part of the whole farm workers movement back in the 70s. And so it's really special to have him in the building and talking to our students about that. But a highlight of this trip is that we actually get to go visit the farm working families in their communities. And so I don't want to give it too much away because I've been to that one too. It was really cool. but also just it really hits the heart when you're in their space, hearing their stories, talking about not getting paid their full check or being a single mother of four and having to work almost 16 hours a day, and my landlord just raised my rent by $500. So it's just wild, the stories that we hear, but it's also very impactful for our students to go through that process. This is a 2.5 day trip. It leaves during the fall break, the October break. Um, it is from the 17th to the 19th, yes. So students will be out of school, and so it is kind of in the sense that no one will miss a class or anything like that. And we should be back Sunday. Again, there's more details that go with these trips. I don't want to overwhelm you with that, but the students will get more information as after tonight as we continue on. So that's a little bit about the Salinas Plunge and what we do and the current immersion that we offer. And so for the spring, I know this is a super popular trip, right? People hear Tijuana. We have hundreds of applicants that want to go, but I'm gonna let Mr. Greg Carlson come up here and talk about that in a minute. But during spring break, we'll offer 3 immersions. One will be the California Nation Advocacy Summit. That is TBD as far as the dates. We're still going to figure out what that is. Basically, that's going up to the state capitol and doing some lobbying work and learning how to do that, meeting local representatives of our district. For instance, we've got to meet Dave Cortese, we've got to meet other representatives of districts. Our students are advocating whether on immigration policy, climate, or other initiatives that our sponsors are looking forward to bring to the table. And that is just a 1 overnight trip. We usually stay at Jesuit High School, and we prep there the night, and then on Monday morning we go to the Capitol and have this whole ceremony, and then we go out to speak to our representatives about some of the initiatives that we're bringing forward. It's a very short trip, but again, this is very introductory for some folks who might not just be ready to go for more than 10 days or 8 days, things like that. A really good introduction trip. Then we have our San Francisco Urban Plunge. So last year we did that during fall break too, during the October month. We did it for 2 days, and Mr. Jemison went on that trip. And when he came back, he said, "We need to go more. We need to be there a little bit longer." And so I was like, "Okay, cool." So we moved it from fall break to February, I believe. Yep. And so we'll be going there for about 4 days in San Francisco. And this initiative is really tackling the unhoused of folks that are dealing with that in the streets of San Francisco. As we know, that is such a hot topic, not just in San Francisco, but here. You're hearing of the encampments, you're hearing of the laws, you're hearing all kinds of things that surround the unhoused population. So this organization, which has a cool name, it's called the Faithful Fools. They call themselves the Fools. Take you around San Francisco in the Tenderloin, in the Mission District, show you the sights and sounds, take you to some cool restaurants too, but also teaching you a lot of the social justice movement that's happening in San Francisco, some of the gentrification to the push-outs, or just to even some of the stories that students will have with people on the streets too as well. So it's a great immersion. This is something that we've done in the past before, but we fine-tuned it a little bit more, so now we're adding a couple extra more days to offer to our students. And again, that one will be during the February break. Ski week is what we call it. So sorry for the confusion, because I know it says spring. And so, I know Tijuana is a big trip that a lot of folks want to go, and I know some dads like to come, and I'm actually super proud that we got one mom to go to Tijuana last year, which was really cool. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you about Tijuana. Actually, Mr. Greg Carlson, who leads this trip, is going to come up here, so if we give him a warm applause, and invite him to talk a little bit about Tijuana. All right, thank you, Mr. President. So I am Mr. Greg Carlson. I have gone on the Tijuana trip. This will be my 7th year. I actually went in 1994 as a student, my junior year here at Bellarmine, the very first version of the Tijuana trip. And to be honest, it really did all those things that Mr. Cardenas was talking about.
it hits hard. You come home after 4 long days down in Tijuana and you are wiped out. And it takes several days to kind of process everything and to think about what it is accomplished and what it is that you have done, what you might want to do, how this might affect you moving forward. How did it affect me? Well, I'm here and I'm talking about the trip. This is my second year leading the trip. I took over from the inimitable Michelle Toy, who ran the trip for 10 years. So what we do, we leave here the Saturday before Easter, and we get on a bus, and we're on the bus all day, and we get down to the border, and then we get off the bus, and we walk across the border holding everything that we've brought with us, our backpacks, our pillows, whatever it is we have on the bus. And we get that experience of seeing what it is like to cross the border with all of your earthly possessions, right? And sometimes the border guards are really friendly, and sometimes they're a little gruff, and it just kind of depends on who you're there with and what the experience is. And it can be a little intimidating, and it really helps you feel for what people go through as they move these long distances or to a place that's unfamiliar. After that, we get on another bus down in Mexico, and we go to our campsite. Our campsite is just outside the city of Tijuana. It's a beautiful valley with a mountain kind of behind us, and it is a very safe campsite. It's fenced off, it's guarded 24/7. No one gets in and out without ID and proper badges, so we're very safe there. Um, and then we set up our camp at night in the dark. 2 years ago, it was raining. And it can be an eye-opening experience for those of us who have camped before and maybe not in the rain, or for those of us who have never slept outside our home. It can be an interesting experience. Then we wake up on Sunday, Easter Sunday morning. We go out, we dig a hole in the ground, and we fill it with concrete. And we come home and we are super tired because it has been a long day and it has been the most labor we've probably done on any day of our lives. And from there, the trip gets remarkably better because we're reaching out to the people that we are literally building a home with. We're reaching out to their family. We get to know the young kids that live there. We get to know the people that live in the community. 2 years ago, we all 48 of us, plus 12 adults, were on the same street in the same neighborhood in Tijuana. Last year, we split up. We were all in the same neighborhood, but it was an undeveloped area, so we could kind of see the other guys, but they were over that hill over there. So we get to spend a lot of time with the families, a lot of time with the community. We get to know what their life is like. The family that I was working with last year had a new baby, and dad worked the night shift, and mom worked the day shift, and grandma was the only one at home with the baby regularly. And their home was, I don't know, this big. Small place, right? The home that we built for them that added on to that was this big. We tripled their living space. And we did this alongside them. Dad would get home from working overnight, and he jumped in and couldn't wait to help us and to do something because this was going to be his house. He was so excited the day we were laying concrete, he called his friend to come over, who is a concrete finisher, to put a nice, polished, smooth surface on the concrete slab. And the thing that he said that day is that he was just so happy that his daughter wouldn't have to live in the mud. These are the families that we are helping. These are the families that we are there for. And this is an experience that cannot duplicate here in the United States. As Mr. Cardinal said, this is one of those trips where we do ask for parent volunteers. It's simply too much for the adults here on campus to manage all of this. So we do reach out to the community. Dads, moms, any of you that have a kid going on this trip, we'd love to hear from you. If you are interested in camping and spending a week with your smelling son out in the desert in Tijuana, Mexico, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to spend some time with you talking about what this trip is and what you might get from it. My favorite question to your kid, I'm going to end with this. My favorite question to your kid, usually on the last night that we're in Tijuana, we'll be around the campfire, we'll be doing reflections, and I will ask that night, you've been here for a week, what is it that you want to tell yourself 20 years from now to make you remember this? Why was this important? And why do you want to remember this in 20 years? And they'll write down their answers and they'll share it amongst their friends. But that's the thing that really gets them thinking, gets them talking about their experience. So thank you very much. I'll be around after the meeting, happy to answer any questions. But for now, I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Kravitz. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. Oh, we can beat that. I mean, 10 years? Nice. I probably could only spend 10 minutes. I don't know. I haven't gone yet, but I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. But as you see, so many different perspectives and things that we will encounter on these trips. One thing I did mention, I failed to mention, sorry, is that I get this question too about capacity, like how many students can go to like these trips. And for the most part, most of our immersions are anywhere from 10 to 12 students per trip. It is a selective process due to their application, which I'll go over towards the end of the presentation. But Tijuana is actually very special, as you heard Mr. Carlson say. We pick about anywhere from 45 to 48 students to go. It's one of our biggest trip students that get to go. So there is a lot of competition to go, I guess. Last year we had a wait list of like 10, 15 kids. And actually all 10, 15 went. There was kids who just couldn't make it. They had other commitments or sports stuff came up. So we understand, but we were able to get those students on the wait list. So even then, if you find yourself on the wait list, it's okay. We'll try our best to get you to go. But wanted to kind of say that as we continue on to talk about more of the immersions. So for the summer of 2026, we have a couple of immersions that we offer. We have Ecuador, which we'll hear a little bit about from one of our students' experience. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And again, it is partnering up with a school in Quito, the capital of Ecuador, where they are able to work with young children there and stay on the compound of the place, the school. We have El Salvador, which again, we have another student who's going to talk about that experience. Again, I won't go too in depth about it. But we really learn about the Civil War and some of the social injustices that happen in El Salvador and currently still are going on. And students work with one of our sister school there in Fundamer that we're able to do a special kind of a night here with the solidarity dinner. I'm not sure if anyone's attended that before, but it's a great dinner that we put on because we actually sponsor 1 year of kindergarten in El Salvador through the donations and that beautiful night that we have where we're able to buy the students their supplies and their books and even pay for the teacher center for the year. So it's a great night. Definitely would ask you to come, and even if you're not going to El Salvador, just to come and support, because we actually live Zoom them into the dinner, and you might learn a dance or two. You never know. We also go to Guatemala, which Esperanza Juvenil, and I'll show a clip of Miss Glover who went to this immersion this past year. Like I said, again, I won't give it away too much, but there we partner with another organization, another school organization called Esperanza Juvenil. Very unique place because for them there's not a lot of access of education to some of the students in Guatemala and especially in this region where a lot of students are still in very indigenous places in Guatemala. And so this nonprofit really made a focus of getting those children into a school system, but also preserving their language, preserving their customs, and just getting them an education. One thing that I will say about Guatemala that I really admire is that for a lot of places, especially educational institutions, they want to push their students to go somewhere else, right? Like go to the United States, go to college there, or go to the UK and things like that. But with Guatemala, especially Esperanza Juvenil, they actually want them to stay in Guatemala and get an education there to kind of give back and be able to like continue that cycle of education to those who are coming into the institution there. So awesome program there too as well. And we have Alabama. So Alabama is quite a new trip that we've had over the years. We partnered last year with a church in Montgomery, Alabama called Resurrection Church, and it's a Black gospel Baptist style church. So when our students went to mass, one student said, "Yo, if mass was like this at home, I would go like every Sunday for sure." The music was amazing. I can imagine. It was lively. Let's just say that. But a big part of this trip is learning kind of the civil rights movement that happened in the area of the South. I personally have gone to this trip, not through Bellarmine, but through another organization where you learn the history of slavery up until now, and kind of how does that look like, especially for folks who are African American descent. And so the trip really touches on a lot of very racial situations and injustices that our students will learn. In addition, one of our leads to this trip, Mr. Mark McDougall, and Mr. Pinkston would go together, for those who know Mr. Pinkston. And Mr. Pinkston would he added a little flavor to the trip too, outside of kind of seeing the hard part of the South. But he would like to take students to the National Negro Baseball Stadium and Museum, and so they would get to watch like a full baseball game from the league. And so it's part of our trip that we still do that, and students are able to enjoy that process there too. So really good experience. Again, as you see up here, there's no dates really attached to that yet because it's so far out that we kind of get a more better timeline around like the end of January, February level of finding out where these trips are going to land. I will say this, that all these trips behind me will leave after graduation. So they will leave the week after graduation, if not even the weekend after graduation. So do expect that. I know that this year there was a little bit of a push with just arranging our chaperones. So we did have like Guatemala was our trip that went the latest. I think it went almost about a week and a half after graduation. But we, like I said, expect that we will try to have these trips go out right after graduation. So to give you guys just a nuance of what we're hoping for, and as you're scheduling for your sons and for yourselves for family trips. Cool. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and show you a clip real quick that Miss Glover was able to share with us. And let's make sure we're done.
Hi, my name is Matthew Delaporta. I think my most impactful moment on this trip was when I was being assigned to one of the classes to work at, and I walked in, and all the kids just started fussing over where I should sit. I just thought they seemed to instantly light up, and they seemed really just like impacted and really just happy and glad that I was there.
Hi everyone, my name is Brian Schmidt. I'm part of the class of 2026 at Bellarmine College. One day, Esmeralda took us down to one of her students' houses. Her name was Allison, and I remember the hike down to her house was down a couple hundred feet of stairs next to this mountain in her neighborhood. And I just remember all the way down, I saw like a lot of trash, and it was just like people don't have the same basic amenities that we do. So I was walking down to her house. On the way down, I went to her house. It's really basic. Not like the houses we have here, obviously. Tin roofs, just really basic walls, concrete floors. And this house had like 6 or 8 people in it. And I just like, I just really realized that this was like an eye-opening moment for me that people here don't have the same basic amenities, and their housing situation is significantly less comfortable than ours. We're so privileged to live in the US or in the Bay Area, which is extremely just, we're really so many comforts here. So, anyways, your mom starts talking about how Esperanza Group changed their family's lives and how Esperanza Group gave Allison the opportunity to have a better education and by that way have a better life. And she started crying and talking about how grateful she was. And I realized that she wasn't the only person that sponsored was probably helping. They had probably like look around all the students that probably felt the same way. And I just realized that if Allison's family was just one family that's so impacted positively by this organization and by what they're doing, just imagine how many kids are feeling the same way by getting an education in the country where education might not be so readily accessible. And really open my eyes with this. We treat education in the US as something that we have like, on tap, so close at hand that we don't see the value of it that much. We just go to school and it's another day for us. And for these kids, they're they kind of have to struggle and really fight for that education to get the spot in school, which is have the opportunity to go to college, which isn't a really common thing in Guatemala.
Hi, my name is Theo. First of all, thank you for considering our normal trip next year. Something that I couldn't have learned in the classroom that I learned on this trip was just really about service in general. Going into the trip, I thought it was going to be more manual labor, um, more like hands-on service based, but it wasn't. It was more about interacting with the students and just showing up and showing care. And then that to me taught me something about service. It doesn't have to be manual labor. It doesn't have to be as hands-on. Showing up, caring about the people, and actually showing up in person. It means a lot more to them than any material thing you can give them.
I think one thing I learned that I don't think you learn in the classroom is how to improvise on the fly. I didn't really speak much Spanish, so I had to figure out ways to either speak with them in broken Spanish or find hand gestures or anything that I could use to talk to the kids, even though I didn't really know much Spanish. And just that improvising on the fly, I really just enhanced that skill on my immersion trip.
About safety on this trip, that was never a good for any of us, especially me. Obviously, this was right. Um, as sponsored the video ministry really well for us. They had every day, every hour planned out where we're going to go. There was no hiccups on this trip regarding transportation or anything. Safety for me was really something that I really thought about. I always felt safe walking around Guatemala City. Everywhere we went, we had locals and students going with us, so we were always accompanied by people who knew the area well.
I felt very safe. I was with a lot of my friends the whole time. We were all just one big group, and I never really felt at any time unsafe. We had some amazing tour guides and amazing workers that helped us and knew the whole area. So I felt really safe and really protected.
My name is Isabel, and I'm a senior. I'm about to graduate, and I love the trip. Honestly, 100% recommend it. It really brings into perspective how grateful we should be for our lives and how happy these students are with less of what we have, and how they're able to take advantage of everything, be so self-sufficient. Truly makes you realize something about life that I wouldn't be able to have realized if I didn't go on this trip, which is why I 100% recommend it. It's really a transformative experience, and I say if you want to apply to consider 100%, take advantage of it and apply. It's a unique experience.
I would go back. I think I had so much fun on that trip. It didn't even feel like a work trip, and even when we were serving, like when we were painting the building, we were just all having fun together, and so it was a lot of fun mixed with a lot of service, and that service was especially fun on its own. So I would recommend this trip to anyone else who would want to go on it, and I myself would like to go back.
I do recommend this trip 100% to anyone who is thinking about this because, like I said, this trip is a major eye, especially for me as a kid living in the Bay Area. I really thought that like everything we had was kind of basic. You can't. I knew that there were areas they might not have the same things. But this is something that sat in the back of my head. I never really thought about it until this trip where I saw it firsthand, especially when I went to Alice's house. And then just going in the car around different parts of Guatemala, we got to visit a different school in a different province of Guatemala where conditions were even worse. I guess you could say that. But like everywhere we went, people were just so positive. And that experience of how you get to realize that a lot of people don't have the opportunities and amenities that you have here in the US, but they are probably way more happier than you are here because they make the best of what they have. They're really thankful. And I really think that it's a major eye opener for anyone going on this trip. In addition to that, you get to tour a lot of beautiful places in Guatemala, including Guatemala City as well as Lake Antigua. Lake Antigua was probably the highlight of our trip in regards to touring. Really great views, good opportunity for photos, and honestly, just another reason you should go on this trip is to meet people. The people in Guatemala are really nice and amazing.
Yeah, give it up to this one was putting that together. I know that she would have loved to have been here, told you in person all this. Her daughter has a volleyball tournament in Monterey, so we'll send her some good vibes. Hopefully she gets a W out there. But yeah, that was a little bit of the Guatemala. I'm always just kind of like thrown away about how like kids or students kind of talk like, yeah, so it's cool. Blah, blah. But then there are these immersion trips where like, yeah, come on, man, it's giving you whatever, you know. Anyways, I'm just really glad that our students have these experiences and they're able to like really immerse themselves as we want them to do, as you see in the videos, and that like what you're seeing and what you're hearing is just glimpses of what these experiences bring to our students at Bellarmine. So we'll keep moving along. We have some special guests here today, but before we get there, I wanted to introduce a quick immersion that's going to be new this year. and it's for the summer of 2026. And so what we're doing is partnering with our athletic department. So Mr. Salvar is kind of leading the charge with a new immersion that we're looking to partner up with Courts for Kids. And what Courts for Kids is basically that. They build a court somewhere in these very rural areas where they don't have access to a place where they could play basketball, soccer, you name it, a court. They build it from the ground up. And so we're partnering with our athletic department to see if we can take as many students as possible. They require a minimum of 16, but I'm thinking we can probably take more. Right? We can take 48 to Tijuana. We can take some athletes somewhere else too. And so I'm throwing the word athletes around because we are targeting our athletes to go on this trip. But depending on what that looks like, we may offer it up to the general student public to kind of see if they're interested in wanting to come. This is going to be kind of like a pilot program where we're going to check it out. We're going to go and see what they're all about. But we do highly encourage that our athletes who are in the room, or if your sons are athletes, to get more information about Courts for Kids. And again, there'll be more information to come as we get more familiar with them. But they do have services all around Latin America, South America, the Philippines, Thailand, other countries as well. So the cool thing is that they told us we could pick wherever we want to go. So I was like, wow, all right. So hopefully we'll get some good feedback from Mr. Saldivar and actually Mr. Moreno too, who's really excited about wanting to join and spearhead this project. And so again, more information will come throughout the year about what this would look like. And yeah, we're excited that we're partnering with someone new, Courts for Kids. And again, if you want more information, that is what they're called, Courts for Kids. You can check them out on Google and learn a little bit more about what they do. Excited? Yeah? All right. Yeah. Sorry, I don't have like Maseratis to give to everybody today. Sorry. All right. So we have, like I said, some very cool speakers, student speakers that are going to talk about their experience. And so if we could just give them our divided attention as they kind of talk about their own experience as they've gone to these trips. Both students went on Latin American trips. So I will call up Mr. Larasi Godoy, class of 26, up to the stage. Let's give him a big round of applause.
Hello everyone. How are you guys doing today? Before I start off, I would like to start off with something that is very Bellarmine, and then that's a Go Bells. So can you guys say it for me? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Come on, a little louder, guys. Come on. 1, 2, 3. Go Bells! All right. So my name is Larasi Godoy, and I'm a senior here at Bell, and I'm here to talk about Ecuador. So this past summer, I had the privilege on going on an immersion trip to Ecuador with 7 other students. A truly life-changing experience. I chose Ecuador because it was the only trip to a different continent in a country that I haven't heard much of, or like, yeah. So at first we hardly knew each other, the group that was going, and honestly it was a little scary to know if you were gonna bond. But after the 11-hour flight to Quito, the capital of Ecuador, I became really good friends with a fellow senior, David, who sat next to me the whole way there. I was already good friends with David. By the time we reached the community center, I realized why this trip mattered so much. The center serves Ecuadorians living on the margins, providing transportation, education, food, and workshops that allow parents to work. Understanding that more than half of the population in Ecuador lives in the works in the informal job market. During when we arrived to the airport, we met Juanito, who marked my words, is the best bus driver of all of Ecuador. And when we moved into our dorms, there were dorms of three or four, And in those dorms, I didn't know it then, but all seven of us became really good friends. Um, with playing countless hours of Uno and just telling stories. Even though we weren't supposed to be out or like talking past 10 o'clock, we were like, you know what, guys, let's also make sure each other's rooms and just play some games of Uno, which was really fun. We had a lot of theirs, and it was a really good experience. For me, this trip was also healing. Just days before leaving, I had been in a severe car crash, and the memories still haunted me. But being in Ecuador, surrounded by an incredible group and community, gave me peace in ways that I didn't expect. And not just me, I understand that other students going on immersions go through this. One moment that will stay with me forever happened on the first day during lunch. Little kids ran up to us and jumped on us and clinged on our legs. And that was very shocking because I didn't really expect kids that didn't know us to hug us and to just embrace us. It was a really nice experience. This was us during the first day during lunch. The little boy on the edge doing like a little peace sign. His name was Steven, and it was really nice because right away, without even knowing me, like he just started talking to me, embracing us, and just like hugging us, and it was really nice. And it was and being able to talk to them, we were because I speak Spanish at home. I was able to understand a little bit about them, and it was really crazy to find out how big their commutes are to the school. They have to drive because a lot of them live in the mountains where the family could afford housing. So they have to wake up at 4 a.m. just to catch a bus or just to get to the center. Which made me and the whole group just like appreciate going to school and being like near Bellarmine. We weren't the only group there as well. Loyola and Chicago Med students and other students from a high school from Ohio joined us. It was really cool to find a mix of people from around the United States, and we never expected to make bonds with them in a unique place, but it was really nice. Together, we explored artisanal markets, shared meals, and learned more about the Ecuadorian culture. One highlight was visiting La Mitad del Mundo, or the middle of the earth. Standing on the equator, you could feel physics experiments working differently. Like, for example, if when we were in the coordinate 00, if you pull your hands out, the person next to you could just put your hands down like easily, even though you put like all the force up, and it was like really cool and really odd. Um, The food was also very amazing. Like it was very fresh and organic. And my favorite was a mushroom and potato soup. Absolutely a chef's kiss. And yes, we played soccer. Let's just say we didn't lose that badly to the Sinners team. We only lost to 14-1. But but the whole time we were just so excited to score that one goal. And for hours and hours we were talking about that goal. This trip taught me resilience, the importance of community, and the power of human connection. I will never forget, and I highly recommend the Ecuador trip to anyone considering this immersion. You'll build lifelong friendships, experience a new culture, and see that there's more to the world than San Jose or the United States. If you want to challenge yourself, open your mind, and embrace the unfamiliar, come to Ecuador. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexis. One more time, give it up. He said, we were proud of that one goal. I mean, I guess so too. They did warn them though. They said the soccer team here was not going to let up just because you come from the States. Which was really nice. But yes, so now I want to call up another student to give their experience from El Salvador, Mr. Dylan Connell, class of 26. Give it up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dylan, as you just heard, and I was fortunate enough to be able to attend the El Salvador immersion trip this past summer. Throughout the time we spent in El Salvador, we visited many beautiful places, but also places that are filled with very important lessons. From seeing the altar where St. Oscar Romero was assassinated, to visiting the location of El Mozote, one of the biggest massacres in the country's history, I was able to learn about the rich history of El Salvador that is also sadly filled with a lot of civil war. But these locations also provided opportunity for reflection about injustice and violence in our world. We were also able to visit amazing places with stunning views, but the greatest place of all that we visited was the kindergarten that Bellarmine supports in our sister community of Agua Escondida. As we first arrived in the kindergarten, I wasn't really sure what to expect, but what I definitely did not expect was to meet one of the kids there who had the same exact name as me, like down to the middle name. And when we had time to play with the kids, he instantly came running up to me to show me one of his favorite games that he enjoyed playing. This game just involved throwing a hula hoop onto a cone, and that was pretty much the whole game. But it was one of the most fun games I've ever played, just purely because of the huge smile he had on his face the whole time as we would run across the yard in front of the whole school and then dunk these hula hoops onto a cone. And I learned about the importance of approaching new environments with joy as we were welcomed by the people of Agua Escondida with lots of excitement and smiling faces. And I'm very grateful for the kindness they showed us by welcoming us into their community and allowing us to connect with them and spend time with them. At the end of our time in the kindergarten, we were feeling a little bit of sadness because we'd formed such a strong community with these people in only a few days. In that moment, as we were saying goodbyes, Maritza, the person who runs the kindergarten, decided to play some music, which she said she'd never done before, and so she was just curious what would happen. What was initially a sad moment turned into one of my best memories of the entire trip, as everyone joined together to dance. Everyone who was there joined in the dancing, whether it was the parents, the kids, the siblings, our group of people that we came with, or anyone else who was at the daycare at the time. This moment had a great lesson about the importance of community, as we were able to turn what may have been a sad moment into a moment of connectedness and joy. By enjoying each other's company and dancing to the music, we were able to spend our last time together celebrating the new community we had made during our time at the kinder. And if I'm being honest, you do not want to see me dance. I'm not a great dancer. In fact, when one of the people were asking us there, like, if we enjoyed dancing, we told them that I had 2 left feet, as the saying goes. But I still danced with everyone and was welcomed into the community, no matter how bad it probably was. This helped teach me about how powerful and supportive community can be so welcoming in situations like these, and how important it is to be welcoming like them. It's because of moments like these that I encourage anyone who asks me to sign up for the immersion trip. I made so many important memories, and this was just like a brief glance into everything that happened. I wish I could cover more, but I would probably have to have a whole separate night of presentations. But now I've grown as a person in so many ways and learned so much about the world and the people who live in it, thanks to the people of Agua Escondida. And I'm extremely thankful to have been able to form a community with them during a time that I'll never forget for the rest of my life. Thank you.
Thank you, Jared. One more time together. Thank you. It takes a lot for our students to come up and share, but to be honest, this is what I talk about the why, the what now. And again, we don't expect that when students come back from immersion all of a sudden, like, I'm going to change El Salvador's government today. Like we get it. Some feel, very encouraged or motivated to do something, but sometimes it's just telling the story. That's it. And that's what I expect. That I hope that our boys go on these trips and they're able to, on the ride home, when you pick them up from the airport or at the dinner table, that they're able to share these experiences with you all. And then, yeah, you ask the question, what now? What do we do with that? Just as a quick example, we had a student who went to Guatemala 2 years ago, who graduated last year, who was super impacted by the experience of going there. And when he came back, he started a nonprofit to tutor students via Zoom in Guatemala, Esperanza, Bolivia. And he did that throughout his last junior and senior year here at Bellarmine. And now he handed that off to another fellow Bell who will continue that effort this year. So again, not saying that we all have to follow that same pathway, but these are the experiences, these are the things that we hope our students are motivated and really kind of open our eyes to say, yeah, what do we do with this now? So again, a round of applause to all our speakers tonight. Thank you all for sharing. If you're wondering, the Eagles are winning, but there's a delay in the game. I don't know what happened. But as we wrap up, we're ready to wrap up. Kept you here long enough. So the application is live as of yesterday, so it is good to go to apply. One thing that I want to mention is that you'll see for the fall there's only one trip. So if you're interested in going to the Salinas Plunge, or your sons are interested in going to the Salinas Plunge, have them apply before the 14th of this month to have a slot there. If for some reason there's questions, obviously I'm here to help to answer those. But for our spring and summer applications, those are due until December 7th, I believe. It's in the flyer, I believe. If I'm wrong, correct me. But you have some time. Oh, yes, it's here. So you have those deadlines to kind of give you an idea of when to apply or how to apply. I get this question a lot every year. Sometimes I get a parent call me and say, how do I submit their application? You don't. They do. So we want them to take the effort to really answer those questions. And we do read them. And actually, the chaperones who lead these trips read these applications. Mr. Carlson, he probably read a good 60 of them last year. And we know when you're using ChatGPT or something else. So be honest, be authentic. There's no right or wrong when it comes to telling your story, but be very honest when you're answering those questions or telling your sons, what is it that they're trying to convey in the application? Because we're really trying to take folks who are ready, but ready to kind of take that next step in their journey here at Bellarmine. But like I said, the application is live. You can find it on Blue. Students can find it on their class page. So class of 26, 27, and 28, you can find them there. And then it's on the website under our Immersion page. You can click on it and start applying. You could also, students, parents too as well, to let your students know, they can also do a video submission. So sometimes students aren't really good at writing it out, and so they would rather just talk about it. And so we offer that as an incentive to apply, kind of like an interview. And so they can answer those questions kind of in a video format. And so those are kind of like the major things that are coming up. And so again, last year I made a decision to really limit the trips that students would choose. So again, students will have their first choice trip that they'll put on there. And again, like I said, there are limits to each trip. If for some reason they're not picked for that trip, they have the opportunity to possibly go to their second trip. Again, each application will be looked at thoroughly and precisely to see if it's a good fit for that trip. We've had in the past have students who apply, say, to Tijuana, but in their application just didn't seem that they were ready for Tijuana, so we recommended actually to go a different trip, even if they picked the second choice, just to see if that would help kind of give them a little bit more experience or a little more runway before they go to a trip like Tijuana. So sometimes that happens, but we do try to accommodate as best as we can when it comes to the capacity that we're offering to our students. So again, that's kind of the big picture as far as applying. You're more than welcome to start now if you'd like that, and it's open. There's also another like video slideshow on there or picture slideshow that you can see all the trips and all their pictures of where the students went last year or this summer, and so you can check that out. Other than that, we are going to go ahead and open the space for questions if parents or students have any. again, if you feel you feel complete and you feel good, you're more than welcome to exit. It's fine. We have Mr. Carlson here. We actually have Ms. Pagura up here who went to Tijuana and also went to El Salvador last minute. I think like 2 days. She hopped on a flight. So I wanted to give space for questions that folks may have, and so yeah, go for it.
Let's say they apply for Immersion, also an athlete. Since we don't really go through that yet, would you be able to still see the person usually or how would that?
Yeah, so they could apply for any immersion that they would want. So Courts for Kids is not on the application, so it's not on there because we're kind of really tunneling that to our athletes. So if athletes are like in the house tonight, if there are athletes that are interested in that, talk to Mrs. Elmore, talk to your coach, and then kind of like we'll figure what that looks like because we're still figuring out when in the summer we'll go. It may be kind of a little bit mid-June, if not late June, but not way too into the summer. We don't want it to be too far. It's just a matter of timing, and again, because the program requires us to have a minimum number to go. Not like all these other immersions. I mean, we try to go with at least 7 to 8 students as minimum, but for Courts for Kids, it's a minimum of 16. And so we have to have that number, and hopefully we can exceed that number. But yes, they can if they're interested. I guess I have the power to say yes or no about immersions. I'm okay. If you want to go to 2 immersions, that's fine. I'm okay with that. As long as you're going for the right reasons is really what we're looking. And you will apply for Courts for Kids probably a little differently than this immersion, just because I said it's not on this form yet. We'll figure that out as it goes, so we'll make sure that folks get information. Yes, in the back. Yeah, and then I'll go to you. Yeah, great question. So he asked, when do you receive notice of that you made it, that you were able to go or not? And usually that's within about 90, over 90 days before the trip takes off to find out that whether you made it. So we try to be intentional as possible to do it. My best guess would be to 2.5 months. Best would be 3 months. But what we struggle with a lot, and actually this brings up a good point, is that if we don't have chaperones to go on these trips, then we can't offer the trip. We have to have the adults committed to go on the trip. That's something that we do struggle with at times because we get it. A lot of our faculty staff have other commitments, coach, families, have just things to do. So we get it. So we try, and we're trying a different effort this year to get more chaperones to come and commit themselves already. Mr. Carlson is already working. I know Ms. Pagura already said, hey, I'm going to Tijuana again. There's folks that are already like, yeah, I'm ready to go. But that's only for one trip. Considering other ones, we still would have to figure out who are those staff members that are going. So that would be the ideal timeline of us trying to get to you. And you would hear from me. I would be the one sending you out a welcome or congratulations letter to let you know you made it. Here's what you need. Here's all the forms, parents, sign them, date them, passports. Yes, that brings me to another point. If you don't have your passport now, get it. And if it's expired, get it renewed, because a lot of students wait till the last minute. We've had students not be able to go on trips because they didn't get it on time. So make sure that if you're thinking about an international or out of the country immersion, renew your passport immediately. Yes. Correct. So again, like let's say that the priority for now would be I want to go to the Salinas Plunge in the fall, and then the second choice could be Ecuador. I'll take that into account to say this student is interested in these both trips. Now we will take first priority first for students who have put that as their number one trip, and if there's room, we typically would add them to the trip. I would say 99% of the time, most students get to go where they objected to go in their first choice for the most part. Yeah. Yes.
Question on the cost. Does this include like flight or is there
Great question. So the cost that you see on these papers, and sorry if I know I only printed out 50, but these are downloadable on the Immersion page too as well. So if you didn't get one tonight or had no idea that they were out here, you can just click on it, download it, or just check it out on the website. The cost includes everything. It includes transportation, food, accommodations, flights, hotels if we're staying at those places that we need hotels. So it covers all of that. There are some trips, for instance, that do require extra things that you could bring. Mr. Carlson, for Tijuana, like know that there's some couple of things that you ask students to bring on their own, like
Yeah, so a lot of students on Tijuana will ask that they bring $50 cash so that they can buy things from local vendors. There'll be tool donations we look for. Always looking for more things to bring with us. We're going to work with other skilled dads this year to put together like a housewarming package for the families. So there's extra things, but they're not required necessarily.
and I know some trips do ask for donations. So, for instance, in Salinas the Plunge, we like to come with gifts. So, like hoodies, gloves, hats, things that folks can wear while they're in the field, and we distribute that out to the families. We're allowed to bring toys for their kids or snacks if needed, but majority of the time, like for instance, Catholic Charities will say, like the big number one thing is hoodies. They like hoodies because they're working out there. They would stay warm and all that good stuff. Yes. Yeah. So on the sheet, there's grade levels of what would it be only offered to rising juniors and rising seniors and rising juniors, because of the intensity of that type of trip, right? So although there are some sophomores that could possibly be ready for a trip to El Salvador, there's a lot of sophomores who are not. So there's formation that we're doing intentionally here as a freshman. So maybe I don't know. And sorry if I didn't answer this. Obviously, freshmen are not allowed to go on immersions, and that's for a reason of formation, right? We're not going to throw a freshman into Guatemala or Tijuana and have them build a house. Like they're not ready for that yet. They're still learning like how to maybe even tie your shoes. I don't know. The other day, I had a freshman come up to me about a wired mouse. He's like, "What is that?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, those things." So we're intentional about the practices that we want to do. So freshmen are having formation in the classroom, right? They're getting kind of like that foundational stuff in the classroom. So that way, when they're in their sophomore year, they're a little bit more prepared. But that's why our group really screens these applications and really sees. And I don't know, Ms. Berger, have you ever screened applications before? Yeah, I'll have Ms. Berger come up here and talk to you guys too as well. Give her perspective about that.
Yeah, I think it's a really individual. We look at the individuals that have signed up for those trips and talk to their teachers. Consider, maybe this kid needs to go on this trip because he hasn't ever had an experience like this. He hasn't ever traveled before. Another kid we might look at, he's traveled the world. He maybe doesn't need this experience in the same way. But then again, that might be an added bonus to a group that doesn't have some kids with some experiences to draw from. So it's really about forming the team for that trip to create a dynamic that's really they're gonna be able to bond and have a really good experience. So I think if you think about it as we're just gonna look at them as individuals and really discern, is this gonna be good for them? And is this gonna be a good dynamic together? And so we're gonna make sure as many kids as possible go on immersion trips because we know that this is one of those formative experiences that change their lives. I'm a language teacher. I don't think it's a coincidence that I went to Mexicali when I was in high school as a sophomore on a spring break trip. And then I lived in Ecuador for a year before coming to work at Bellarmine. And I didn't think about it at the time, but probably the fact that I had just come back from living in Ecuador and that I was volunteering, taking kids down to Mexico with the church. Maybe that's part of why Bellarmine hired me too. You know, these things start to become a part of who you are, and that's why we're all so passionate about this, and we want your kids to have that little window into the experiences. And I guess before I start rambling, one thing that was on my mind, all these trips, the hospitality that we experience in these communities is so profound. And I think living where we do, where everybody's so busy, and so many of us have access to our own private vehicle and can go from point A to point B without interacting with everybody. Maybe not using public transportation, all these things that kind of force you to have contact with people. When we go and we stay with these communities, the way they take care of your boys, it's amazing. The lengths that they go to make sure your boys are safe and taken care of. And even though as a chaperone, I might be thinking I'm the one responsible for maintaining that, but I tell you, the families that are hosting us, that's their number one concern. They want those boys to be safe. They want those boys to be well fed, and they give them so much affection, and they're so glad to see them. So it's that, I think, is something that they all take home and have to wrestle with, right? How, now that I'm back at home in San Jose, how do I show that kind of hospitality in my community? And so hopefully that's something that continues to trouble them in a good way.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Yeah, so I hope that answers your question. Yeah, yes. Great question, yes. So a couple of things that I didn't put up in the presentation is that there are 3 pre-application meetings that your sons will have to go to. We'll have to pick one to go. So there's 3 that are offered in September, October, and November, and they all have to, if they're planning to go on immersion, they must go to one of those meetings. And in that pre-application meeting, I go in a little more in depth about the application process. And I talk about like, when will you hear back? And what are some things that we're looking for in your application when you're applying? And don't use ChatGPT and all that good stuff. So that's part of a little bit of what we do in those pre-meetings. Before a trip takes off, there's a mandatory 3 to 4 meetings that they must attend to kind of get the lay of the land and understand like what is it, like why are they going there. I actually last year devoted the summer to create a guidebook for our chaperones to kind of like build this like structure of how to lead those meetings leading up to a trip. And so it really goes from anything from like getting to know who I'm going with to understanding the purpose of this environment that I'm about to step into. So we hope, right, that by the time they get on that plane, get on that bus, that van, they're a little bit prepared. Not fully, we get it, but at least somewhat prepared to encounter what they will face in those environments. Yeah. Yes?
What about chaperone? What I have to do in the immersion program? Is it working immersion or just inside of immersion?
No, great question. So our chaperones are built from our staff and faculty here at Bellarmine. In certain immersions, we do have volunteers, as you heard Mr. Carlson talk about. We do allow parents to come to those immersions. That is still something that we're working with the other immersions because it does fall into a very sticky situation when you have mom or dad going with you on a trip. We've had this happen where like a dad was being very like mean to his son on the trip, but really nice to everybody else. Like he was being dad, and like we didn't want that to interfere in the process of the immersion. Tijuana is very unique because it's a very different immersion where it's a very service oriented. You're there and you're working, right? Like, yeah, you're getting directions. You're doing what you got to do. There's no time to mess up. Like you gotta get on point. In the other immersions, there's a lot of downtime. There's a lot of reflection time. There's a lot of like in solidarity with yourself, with your chaperones to talk about those experiences. Although Tijuana does that, I feel that there's just a little bit more room to kind of get lost in that with parents. And then honestly, sometimes students don't want to go with their parents. Like, I don't want my mom or dad to come. Like, it feels weird. I get it. So we're still working on that on the kind of like the macro end of all of our immersions, but for sure, our chaperones are all Bellarmine faculty staff. Any other questions? Yes. Yes. So the application itself is open for all trips. So there's no application just for each trip. The application is just a full, like you can choose Tijuana as number one, and number two could be whatever your son may be interested, but they can apply now if they would like to. It's on Bloom for them on their class page, but it's also on the bcp.org webpage, and you could click on the immersion page, and you would see the link on the right-hand side that takes you to the form. Any other questions? We feel complete. Well, I appreciate you all coming here. I thank you very much for allowing me to present. Thank you all for entrusting our school and our programs. And hopefully we will see your sons apply. And if there's any questions, myself, Ms. Magura, Mr. Carlson will stick around for a little bit if there's anything that we could answer a little bit more in depth or detail. But other than that, thank you, have a good night, and drive home safe.